Hello and welcome to the Foxcatcher Review Show. My name's Julian Valence, joined in studio by Clint Hutchison from Racing.com. Big weekend in Melbourne. Obviously, we had some racing Friday night, which we're going to dissect as best as we can. We had racing at Sandown on Saturday. Nothing else happened on Saturday, I don't think.
It did, apparently.
No, well,
forgotten. Commiserations.
What are you talking about?
How have you got the loss?
Storm. What?
Come on, mate.
Storming in NFL for me. That's the footy. That's the real footy. And then Liverpool and all that. Outplayed. Clearly. Couldn't cut it any other way. We've spoken about a lot about this. We don't want to get sidetracked too much.
Yeah.
But geez, they're such a good one-on-one team over the ground. So it's like, don't worry about them through the year. Their team has been built on September success. And that's how they're building it. So they've got to somehow find a way, Brisbane, to continue to just finish top four, which I think is the challenge for them now going forward into 2026 and beyond, is because sometimes teams can set up a certain way that it's just not September-type footy. But when you get to September, what do you need to be? One-on-one team.
I thought James Hurd had a really interesting comment on one of your fantastic shows about it's hard to beat the same team 3 weeks in a row. They know what you're going to bring. And I think that was the thing that, you know, Brisbane didn't have a great game in the lead-in. But anyway, we move on. And next year for you, and I'll tell you what we did get. At the Valley, what a meeting. What a night of racing. That meeting is so well placed. Crowd engagement.
You were there?
Great crowd in attendance. Lots of buzz. It was a really enjoyable night.
I'm going to bring something up with you right now, actually, talking about this. The romantic side of me and the charm is just going to be really disappointed when they burn this joint down.
I'm with you. I was thinking that while the meeting was on the other night, and I even brought it up with Ollie, actually, and it was just sort of saying, you know, you sort of feel like what we know we've got at the Valley, it's so unique and so good.
And from a punting perspective, it's hard.
We
get that, and we want to always be on this show and in every other show and everything we do, it's high percentage play. And sometimes Moonee Valley doesn't race like that. And I've been critical of it in the Waldom, how it raced. It was a tired track. But I just think you're not guaranteed success whatever happens after this when you bulldoze it. And I just feel with horse racing, the charm, we're losing a bit of this.
Yeah, and you know that you got a pretty good situation when it was a brutal night for punters.
Yeah.
And we're walking away going, but what about the night? Yeah. So it was impossible from my point of view, and I think 95% of punters.
With that. Yeah.
But it is unique. There is something special about it. So, look, not to say that they can't replicate it. You kind of know what you got.
They just won't, you know. They just won't the way that track's configured, and this track that's going to be the new one's going to be a longer straight, and as I say, we want to play in all high percentage plays, but geez, it's just beautiful sometimes with the what it happens with Pride of Jenni obviously taking off at the time. I'm assuming the crowd, the roar would have been enormous.
Absolutely unbelievable.
You know, it is like a little velodrome.
Totally. I mean, 10,000, 15,000 there's like 100,000 at Flemington.
Yeah.
So.
It raced on Friday night. It was out 3 metres the entire circuit here, Hutch. Good 4, upgraded to a good 3 after race 4. The times indicate that. Look, I thought it raced really well, but you probably push into the fact that we're on a really dry deck, so there's always going to be a leaning towards probably on speed.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was, if they went quick enough, you could come from back and wide, and I think it was probably as fair a good 3 type track is, you know, which is generally always going to lend itself to on paces, and I think it was a better spot to be, but it wasn't to say that you couldn't win if you were good enough and had the right pace in the race.
Yeah, good points. Let's get to the hen house. So the races that we sort of think, you know what, the market will gravitate towards these. There's one in particular I think's gone massive and is going to start with it. And then these other 2, we're just putting it in because they were the bigger races on the day, on the night, and I want to get your thoughts on where these horses might go and how they'll come out of it. So race 3 the winner was Beast Mode. They've gone 55-1-7. They've just blitzed the clock. They've obliterated standard
Where
time.
did this performance come from?
Yeah. Massive.
Blinkers on. I mean, they've improved some horses.
Yeah.
Never going to lose as well. I mean, for Beast Mode.
Engines in those blinkers.
Oh, look, it was a clear career peak. It was off the charts, better than anything Beast Mode's ever done, and it's been a costly horse for me in the past. But, hey, look, Beast Mode, I don't know. What do they do now? It was a very good win in time on a night where you get some good horses to compare it with as well.
Yeah. I mean, this was only a benchmark race. Do you know what I mean? So for it to do the time that it did was outstanding. Whether it can replicate this again, that's going to be the question. But I think overall, when you see this horse again and whatever runs second, third, and fourth, the market's going to gravitate towards it because they're just saying, well, this is the number it's done now. And now, whether it gets back to that, it might take 2 or 3 runs for then the market to correct itself and say, look, that was the outlier from it now.
Yeah, they've tried beast mode over a touch further. I think they'll just be sticking with a sort of distance range now and leave the blinkers on and see where they can go because they're going to win more races off the back of that performance. But, yeah, I think the overall race has gone exceptionally well. So it was a surprise and one of many on the night.
I would say you'd be able to just keep it at Moonee Valley, but they won't have the option of that because unless it's Rubble the dog from Paw Patrol, he's not going to be having a job at all.
Are you a big Paw Patrol player back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Rubble was the best. He was yellow. He was good. That's why I'm wearing this jumper. Let's get to race 6. It was won by Pride of Jenni. Look, half a second inside standard time, which is not, usually she can really bust the clock open here. Last 400, 200, okay compared to the rest of the day. To be honest, pretty poor overall. But this is what happens with her. She busts them up. I want to get your thoughts on her, and then I want to touch on Treasure of the Moment after her.
Yeah.
But so Pride of Jenni now, they're going to have the option of, well, firstly, she seems to be a fresh horse now, doesn't she? This is when we're getting her peak numbers for her.
It does well based on the recent couple of preps for sure. She'd obviously have that issue second up last prep. In terms of how this one rated, it was almost identical to what she did first up last time in, where she didn't beat a lot and then obviously didn't go away after that. But I'm not sure with her now. I mean, it was a great win. The crowd and to have it back, like I said at the time, just redemption for everyone because I was sort of surprised when they were having another throw at the stumps myself, and I'm like, wow, they're having another go. But at full marks to them, they've come out. She's won. She's beaten a genuine star. We'll talk about Treasure of the Moment in a minute, but you have to just tip your hat and say, well done, well played. I don't know with her now.
Options, I think. So I think they're saying the King Charles, which you go up to Sydney, which might be in 2 or 3 weeks' time, or you just hold off, keep the powder dry, say 5 or 6 weeks into the Empire Rose at 1,600 metres. I think they're the 2 options. I've got definitely a leaning which way I'd go. You?
I think, like you said, with the gap between runs, you might just wait for the Empire Rose, but
just the travel as well. She's done it before and then never been able to come back and all that kind of stuff. I just think we're going to have lessons that somewhat you're supposed to learn from. Sometimes you just live them. That I would be waiting and I'd go.
I think that's a good call. I mean, I'm not sure I would get her right anyway because I didn't know what to expect on the night, to be honest. I mean, we all know what she can do, but is she still there?
She's never going to get back to that. When she won I think it was the Empire Rose and then quick back up into the Champions Mile, they call it now. They're never going to be able to replicate that. No. That's just not going to happen again for her, but she's still good enough to win races like the Fee and,
Fair play to them. Congratulations. Treasure the Moment. Yes. I've got a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Well, no, I'm interested because I'm huge on fence here of I don't know because, as you say, the race hasn't rated big here. So, but is this just the perfect tick over for Treasure of the Moment to now then beautiful platform into the Might and Power over 2,000 metres in 2 weeks' time? Is that the right?
Yeah, I think. Look, she ran a big number first up, didn't she?
Yes.
So the way that I look at it is that she's come off like a peak figure effectively.
Yeah.
So whilst in the run, I thought, she's going to swing on by past Pride of Jenni, and she didn't do it. She still ran really well. Good gap back to third. She's come off that number first up a little bit. I'd be thinking all systems go. Third run in, up in trip, you go, bang, we're ready to go.
Yep.
Then again, there'll be some conjecture surrounding the setback. And was she below because of this setback?
Yes.
And will she go down again?
Yeah,
and I think you can only judge that on the next run.
That's the call. Yeah.
I think you can only judge it. So it's still all systems go to that third run in. She hasn't done too much wrong, and she's still rated pretty well. But that's the way that I'd be looking at it.
Yeah, she deserves
her
option.
You were going to tell me it was a gut buster and that she.
No, I don't think. As I said, if this went 1.5 seconds inside standard time and they came home say 12.5, 12.6, then I'd be like, you know what? I reckon this is. I'd go. Not that they ever would, but I'd be like, you're in trouble here, Treasure of the Moment. But I don't think it's been that big of a gut buster for her. I think it's obviously it'll take something out of her.
Yeah.
And as you say, we don't know how much work she missed in the lead up and all that kind of stuff. But I think she deserves her opportunity to be in the Might and Power.
Absolutely.
And I 100% agree with you. Then we can decide in the Cox Plate, or if they decide to go somewhere else, whether she's a betting proposition for the rest of the spring.
You're a lot bigger player of gut buster sort of theory than I am.
Yeah.
I think I'm a lot more to go on with it.
Yep.
But that's something that has served you well. But
occasionally.
Yeah,
but I didn't feel like this one was
didn't worry Brisbane.
No, why not? It was gut buster after gut buster. They travel everywhere. I think they just like that. They absorb the pressure, don't they?
Yeah,
blokes are half injured. Dunkley is out for a 6-week injury, and he just kept going. Honestly, Neil had a calf that kept him out for 6 weeks and played 2 weeks later. Too good.
Sorry to mention the war.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was deliberate, no doubt. Let's get to the Group 1. It was the Manikato Stakes, mate. It was won by Charm Stone, which is probably a bit of a surprise from a market perspective. Look, half a second outside standard time. They have come home best fast 400, 200 of the day, but I don't know what to make of this race. They've come home great, right? But as they should, they're Group 1 horses, and it's probably put a gap on them, to be honest, as well, Charm Stone.
It was a good win. Had a perfect trip.
Yes.
I mean, I think the way the race set up, they found their spots early. We pointed out that there wasn't a lot of pressure in the race. Yep. And once they sort of found their spots and some of the key chances were off midfield, there's too many good horses that are going to run home. Well, and as it turned out, it was Charm Stone. It was a good win. It rated okay. Yeah. I think pretty similar to the Sangster victory. And I couldn't have found Charm Stone, so I hold my hands up there. But, won well.
Where do you go? So this is the thing, though.
The more talking points are really some of the others, like the Lady Shenandoahs, who late sectionals were good, but they all were good in the race. And I thought it was just a run. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it on Wednesday that she was going to have to probably be in that spot. It's just hard to win around that joint from that perspective. So she always had it, I think, the odds stacked against her as much as, she probably held her price.
And some will say, look, her late sectionals, I think she ran the 4th best last 200 or something of the night. So, you can't do much more than that. But should he have been more positive? I'm not sure. Would it have made a difference? Who knows?
I don't think. Yeah, and to be honest, I just don't think second up you want to be riding your horse out of their comfort zone when you go, well, we've already got a slot for the Everest and maybe she can.
Yeah. I can see her bouncing back to, being way more suited in a race like the Everest, but I don't think that the shine is still there. There was still a lot of other horses with similar runs that came home alongside her.
Yeah. Skybird really disappointing, but I think maybe an issue.
Some issue post-race, I believe. Yeah, some issue. So, look, it was out the back and plain late, wasn't it? But I believe there was a little issue after that race. Was there anything else in there?
No, I thought overall, look, as I said, you've summed it up really well. They've come home well, but it's not a race that I go, okay, where are these going to next? Can't wait for them in another race. Yeah. And I don't think there's another level in Charm Stone. I think that's her level. So I think, I don't think she can finish top 4 in a Everest or something like that if they decided.
I don't, but I underestimated her there, and
true.
She took a run. I thought she'd be further back. She was actually just had the perfect run through the way the race rolled out. Alabama Lass, obviously, little issue there too. So,
there was there?
I think there was because they. Look, I mean, she was beaten on the turn, and I know they were checking her over, but she was beaten too soon. Yeah.
Right, Hutch, time now for the Doghouse. Moonee Valley, Friday night. Look, race 1, winner was Charcoals. Outside standard time, last 400, 200 haven't been able to beat 12 seconds. I know this horse has put 3 or 4 together in a row, so that's a positive. But I think it's a race that the market goes against.
Yeah, maybe in its entirety, I think that's a fair call, but there's one out of the race that I will be highlighting later.
Okay, good.
Just one horse. I thought was a really good run, but Charcoals keeps winning, like you said, so I wouldn't be too critical. When you keep winning races like that, even though some of them don't rate well, I'd be cautious.
No, that's fair. That's fair. This race I'm happy to be against big time because theoretically you've got to go somewhere with these horses and they're going to be probably high up in the chain of a race we're going to get to. It's race 4. The winner was won by West of Swindon. 3/4 of a second outside standard time and the last 400, 200 poor. Last 200, 12:33. So I've got this going really poorly and this is the Stud Stakes, which we've seen in the past is a really good usual progression to the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas over 1,600 metres. Now, you could easily make a case that there's probably a chance in a race like the Caulfield Guineas because we don't really have any sort of 3-year-olds at the moment over a mile that are any good at all. We saw the Guineas Prelude, which we spoke about at length last week in terms of a really slowly run race. And at least they came home last 400 okay, but that's not a great platform.
I was against
You are,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And this is the point. So you've binned that race.
I'm binning this one too.
And we're binning this one. And so now we're going, what are we left with? But this is a race that I'm worried about.
I think, though, I couldn't agree more. I thought it was, the overall time's just not there.
Yeah.
It's just not there. And a horse in this race, was it Bing Eye in this race?
Yes.
Bingy or Bing Eye, whatever they want to call it, that we slated not long ago, has come out and been beaten twice. But I don't know. Like, Wester Swindon was beautifully rated, but it wasn't strong late. What do we do? I think the important one here is Vinrock, who had a little issue at the start, got a lot further back. Is he, I think he's a kind of colt that just wants to be doing it himself. I'm not sure he likes being around horses. He was still a bit plain too.
So I think he was, because the race has gone so bad. If the race has gone really good, you go, you know what? They sort of settled worse than midfield. This is not the grand final. We finish off through the line and great. And you go, he's now going to be, and I think it'll be written in a certain way, and I'll get to that really shortly. But the race has gone so bad that it's like, you needed to be finishing off better than that.
Because if we're potting the Guineas Prelude and this race, what do we actually?
Well,
in all seriousness,
you're left with the Golden Rose.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you've got the winner, Beiwacht, has won by just about 5. Now he's busted the clock up there. Mm. There's no doubting that. They've broken the track record. But it's probably going back to, say, the 1,200 metre Coolmore, which is understandable. And so you're left with the horse that's got beaten 5, 5.5, 6, 7. Like, there's a few there that haven't come up as well. And so overall, then you're going, what's left field? What are these sometimes when we win these maidens off the left, Broadway? I mean, we saw a horse on Wednesday called Observer, and I was sort of hoping that if he'd come out and won by 2 or 3, he would have put his hand in, but he couldn't beat the older horses in his race. So it just seems a low year.
You know what I think I'm going to do this week? Because I know we've got our big day on Saturday at the Osborne. I'm going to do some homework and find something left field. The Caulfield Guineas. That's going to be my job.
Good. So I thought I had found it last week, but it ran at Sandown on Saturday. Sentu Cavati. I was like, he'd won a maiden. I was like, this is the race. I think it was a Donald Maven. I was like, this is the horse. Anyway, he ran 3rd, but again, that Sandown race hasn't rated through the roof. So again, it's on you.
Okay,
this is on you.
I'm doing it. We'll pick a couple out at a good price. Why not?
And I think that's what you have to do.
I think it's up for grabs. It's up for grabs this race. There's no standout, provided that horse from that busted open the clock up in Sydney doesn't go that way.
That was the Doghouse. In terms of the hits and misses, not much to gap in here. This is really interesting, from a market perspective from PointsBet. A lot of the early prices pretty well held true. There was some swings, but not much. 2 that I can only mention here, Hutch. Daggers in the first, $5.50 into $2.40. It was off 118 days. It had been gelded. The market pushed towards it being first up. I thought it was okay.
Was all the Foxcatcher fans?
There was, we talk
ran
about.
Well.
Yeah, he ran well. Yeah, he looked beaten at the 200, and I thought then he kept going, and then it never looked like winning if it sort of got to that point. And then in the last race, splashback, $7 into $4.80. They hit there. Look, fourth run off the let up. Not a massive number here, though, overall. If you're going, okay, well, now she's going to be a horse that can be Empire Rose horse, I'm not too sure. But
the worry for her is that, like, the race was run perfectly. I don't know what some of them were doing in that race. They just went way too hard early.
And whether they thought that's what they needed to be.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's what happened, but still, she it worked out beautifully for her. And she's a nice horse. But
she's always progressed. I thought she would really make it. So I'd love to see her in a Toorak on the minimum. Put her in the Toorak, okay? There's just a ticket there that might be worth just following. So don't go to the Tristark. Let's get to the Toorak. Not saying she can win it.
And that was it. So only a couple
from a market perspective. The rest sort of held true in terms of their price. So we won't mislead punters in any other way. Let's get to the Fox's Den here, mate. Let's get to the Black Book. A couple of horses you like?
Yeah, a couple of really nice performances. Sunshine in My Pocket from the race that we don't like. Best final 200 of the meeting. It got just too far back, but I think a bigger track. Sunshine in My Pocket is definitely one. And a horse that we'd noted before, Point Barrow. Loved this run. It was terrific. I think there's a nice race in Point Barrow somewhere. It's one of the handy 3-year-old sprinters going around. And once again, I just don't think the Valley and that whole setup suited Point Barrow.
It was sort of a bit of a train wreck, to be honest. And I thought it was sensational through the line. So Point Barrow, absolutely. And Sunshine in My Pocket, probably get a senior jockey next start as well. And I think you're probably right in the game there. Couple for me. Now, these are off Broadway, but I don't know if they're going to get to 1,600 metres. But they might get to a derby. A horse called McWoody. Won a debut over 15.90 at Wodonga. Not many margins, so I don't know if everyone's going to find this, but McWoody, I reckon we be with. A horse that won a Warrnambool maiden, Mitch Friedman, called Savitri, be with it. Quick As won a Geelong maiden, be with it. And Actuality. That was on the Wednesday with us.
Good win.
Ran second. It shot.
Second, yeah.
Ran second. It was off 168 days. It was over 1,000. It's better over 1,200 metres. I reckon next start I've got that race going through the roof. It was won by Loving Gabby, which is not called Loving Gabby. It's called something else, like Gabby.
Just like Gabby.
Yeah, he won. It was first up as well, but actuality is the horse.
Who are we going to be just like on Saturday at the Osborne?
Cheech and Chong. See you, pal. Righto, punters. Hutchie out, Ashman in. Let's get to New South Wales. Obviously, Rosehill, big Golden Rose meeting up there on the Saturday. Nico, there's plenty to talk about. You're going to rapid fire for us. We'll start with the track, Rosehill. True position the entire circuit. Now, good for the entire. We're going to talk about this a lot. How's the intel? And then, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on the actual track because it seemed like they lit it up.
Yeah, they did. Jules, hello to everyone. Big Golden Rose Day, Beiwacht, unreal. We'll talk about him in a moment's time. 7 of the 10 winners were still in lanes 5 and beyond, but we did have 3 winners in lanes 2 and 3 amongst those 2 lanes. Just the 1 leader won. That was, of course, Beiwacht, who led all the way in the Golden Rose. The track itself was not a good 4. It probably started the day on about a 3.5, maybe a bit more, 3.6, 3.7, that type of thing. By the end of the day, I've got this in the 2 range. At least somewhere between a firm 2 and a good 3, if not probably a firm 2. So I think that's a bit deceiving for punters and form guides going forward. A lot of ratings database will have Monty Supreme blowing up in the last. I'm not going to follow that in. I think the track was white hot by the time we got to race 10, mate.
So there's just with that, and we're going to try and flesh this out a little bit because clearly it was really good conditions up in Sydney on the day, so it's continued to just sort of bake this turf. And then just from looking at the raw times, you can see that they are absolutely low flying. Like there's many horses sort of breaking 11 in some of the splits. They've ran a track record, I think, in the Golden Rose over 1,400 metres. It's a little bit buyer beware you want to be, especially later in the card. Is this sort of what you're sort of trying to get out to the punters here?
Yeah, we've seen this before as well at multiple different tracks, not just New South Wales and Victoria as well, particularly Caulfield sometimes in that late autumn slot around Blue Diamond Day. We can quite often get a white hot track there. Horses rate off the charts. It's happened once or twice at the Valley, I can remember as well. Cox Plate Day can happen. And they rate off the charts. They run these massive numbers. No horse ever gets back to it. The market's completely FUC, blah, 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 because no one knows what to do with it. You've got this big number for a horse, but you kind of know it's not true because the track was firmer than what Racing Australia says it is. And herein lies the big issue. I hate it when they water tracks, but I also hate it when they don't go, hey, we're actually on a firm 2 now. Just on the topic of firm 2, the reason why they don't like upgrading it, I believe, is because they're so scared about, the politically correct thing to do, and that is to, welfare. But here's the thing, Jules, is that on Saturday we had 2 horses, Warrior of Peace in race 5 and Lord of Biscay pull-up lane, both 1 out of 5 lane, which is the lowest form of lameness that you can get. Go back to the last meeting at Rosehill on the 13th of September. The track was a soft 7. We had 1 horse pull-up lane there, which was Zoo Ripper in race 1, and it was 2 out of 5 lane on the near hind leg. So that's via the stewards report, that information. Another horse pulled up with poor recovery on the 13th, but I don't think you can blame that necessarily on the track condition. The point I want to make here, small sample size, I know, there wasn't a real lot of evidence on Saturday. If we had 10 or 15 horses pulling up with jarred feet and problems in the stewards report, then it makes a great sort of argument that we can't have firm 2 tracks. But from what I can see on the official report, there's only 2 horses. I think let them race, let that track go. And I'd love to see more tracks in that firm 2, good 3 range.
Well, we speak about it a lot, and it's usually when they run the straightest too. They run truest in terms of the market because they are running sort of to their peak, and albeit everything gets a run like in running, then you sort of have it the most truest compared to see this soft, the good 4, soft 5 sort of range where it does get really murky. And we know from a turnover point of view, the bigger players love playing in fast decks. There's no doubting that. I am surprised as an overall that they didn't upgrade just to a good 3. And I get what your point is that they're loath to go to a firm 2 and, that's on them. But to not be able to get it to a good 3 really surprised me. And when I went through looking at the results again this morning, I was like, how have they not been able to? What data have they got in front of them that has said, no, it's purely only a good 4. And when you look at the actual definition of a good 4, it still has some give in it. Yes, it's firm, but it has some give in it. I mean, the times here, which should be our sole thing that we work off, has told us that it's firmer than a good 4, surely.
Beiwacht's gone out the first 800 metres 5 lengths above standard, and he's come home his last 400, 200, 22.8 and 11.7. He's 1.25 seconds inside standard time. He was outstanding. I will say this about Beiwacht. He beat them by 4.25 lengths. Yep. Woden and Tempted, they both sort of rated in and around that on my stuff, sort of what's an 89.90, which is kind of where they go to and have done previously. So he's definitely spiked. There's no doubt about that. And he's gone to a pretty high level. The question now becomes is where do they go with him? Do they go to an Everest and come back 200 metres in distance and possibly take away that high cruising speed he's got? Or do they push on to a Caulfield Guineas? I'd personally go to the Guineas just because I think he's got a tough assignment in an Everest where there's more pace on. He doesn't get to sort of bully them from out in front. And the 3-year-old stocks are just woeful. I mean, if he can do that number or similar number again in the Guineas, he wins it this year without a shadow of a doubt. So we'll see what unfolds there. Acacia was very good in race 6, best split of the day between the 4 and the 2. Race Shape was against her in the Mahuna race. She tried to come from behind Mahuna. And Napoleonic from Warwick Farm last Wednesday, he's a really good galloper. He's run the best last 200 metres of the day, first up at Wyong and again at Warwick Farm on Wednesday. Slowly run race, overall time, nothing flash, but very, very slick late. He's the kind of horse for mine, Jules, that can probably go to a Roman Consul. And if he wins that, he might be the fly in the ointment for the Coolmore Stud Stakes in what has been a pretty lackluster year for the 3-year-olds so far.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. And, we'll go into it in depth a little bit later in another segment that we have called Foxfire Chat, where we talk about the 3-year-olds and where they sort of fit. I think there's a little bit of hope for the 1,200-metre 3-year-olds, but I am really worried. I'm fascinated in your Beiwacht comment about getting to a Caulfield Guineas, because if he could get to a mile, then it'd be at his mercy, because we are crying out for a mile 3-year-old horse. So good chat, mate. I love that. I think it's really important for the viewers to understand that just don't trust everything that gets spat out by the stewards and riser and all that in terms of track conditions, because it's important to know. And you seek the truth, and the truth is being brought to us at Foxcatcher. Bye for now.
See ya.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.